So without further ado, welcome to the Collin Man's Answer Show. Like I was just saying to you off air, just go ahead to start. Is how I usually start it. Just go ahead and introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, things like that.
Okay. Well, I'm Ollie Holman. I'm a metal sculptor. I work with metal from an early age. I've been working with metal, making sculptures in a variety of subject matters, like from horses to figurative wall pieces to very organic kind of sculptures, and work in a variety of sizes really. And I started out doing a bit of scrap metal kind of sculptures with a lot of car parts, welding them together, and then I gradually developed into more making things from scratch, or like a bit of forge work, like a blacksmith, hitting and manipulating the metal and the sheet metal and just bashing a lot and then just kind of welding and kind of more like fabrication really. So it's kind of blended into that a little bit, and then I also do a bit of decorative designer lighting pieces and other like furniture bits as well. But I'm more into the sculpture section these days. So yeah, hopefully that sums me up.
Yeah, that's like I said before. I saw you on Instagram. I think was the social media I saw you on, and I saw you had these. You were like, it was either you posing in front of these super tall like structures of these sculptures, and I was like, that is
Yeah,
dope. And I just wanted to talk to you about some of them.
yeah.
So you were saying you do some of the like the blacksmith like hammering stuff now. How did you
Yeah.
like you were giving a little rundown, but how did you get into sculpting? Like, was it something you always had a passion for? Did it kind of just come along? Like, have you always been artistic? How did you get into it like that?
Well, I think after I owe a lot to my dad. Wise, he, as a way of keeping me busy on the weekends, he taught me how to weld. Like, so I was like 13. Probably shouldn't be welding at 13, like making sculptures with that. But yes, he taught me how to weld. So I just made use of his scrap pile, and I just got really found really fun just to make sculptures out of all these like odd bits of like car parts. And it used to be amazing to like turning this, this junk, well, a lot of people's junk into innovative kind of like sculptures a bit. And it used to be just really quite fun. I love the passion of like turning, like, having a second lease of life for any kind of object you find. And it was also nice to, like, when you start off in the early days, you used to just start with one piece, and that would set you off on the idea. Like, for example, I did this like a running man. It's not on my website or anything, but it looked like a shoe. So I thought, oh, that has sprung to mind, right, running
Yeah.
man. So, and then it just kind of goes from there. So it used to be from them kind of days. That's how it kind of began, with that love affair with metal. But I never really thought you could make a career out of it though, because like I've always been very kind of creative. Like I've always been good at art, and I used to draw a lot of cars. All of my school. I used to, all of my papers. I used to just go drawing cars and getting told off for drawing cars all the time. So I've always been into like that side. But like I say, throughout school, they never really got told that this could be a career to do it. I only found it quite a bit later on that actually, oh, you can actually make a career doing this. So initially, like I say, I just did it and think it was just something you do for fun. Not really anything you can do it every day. So I actually thought I'd go into the acting days. I went into thought I'd become an actor, so something else, and then realised it wasn't for me, and then got found out that you could do art full time, like study it further. I'm like, oh, why not? What else? Why not? Hell, I should do this. Like, I did it and had the best couple of years of my life in terms of education wise. Just full on learning the art, learning history of art, learning all many different techniques. And my local college, Colleagues College of Art, was just brilliant. And they just really pushed you as well in different directions as well. Like, you just didn't really, open my mind really and thought, oh, this is a bit what I want to do. But then it had a little curveball in terms of, I thought I wanted to do design and not really art. I got away from being just art. I did a bit more design because I really quite liked the. I thought it was really clever if you create a sculptural piece, but that did a function now. So if you created like a designer piece, but it also looked sculpturally aesthetic and brilliant in its own right, I thought it had a better longevity.
Hmm.
Like it'll last for ages, and you'll treat the piece a lot better, and you'll treat it with more respect. And because I feel that's the way we should be going now. Have whatever you get, it should be respected, and it should be, you really should really want it, And that's what I have my concept in my design work now, is to do that, create pieces that are very desirable, very luxury, and very beautifully sculptural kind of pieces. But I think you, like say, well, you respect it like a sculpture. So So then that's why I think then gone back into sculpture work. It's kind of, I think I've got a lot of admiration in my sculpture work. So I think that's how I got back into sculpture work, to try and make it that as a business really. And I feel like I know that's what I'm good at. I feel like there's no one else. I've got a good bit more unique style in this metal work. So I think that's why I've continued in that that progression really, if that makes sense.
No, I've talked to a bit of like artists in their own respect. I've never talked to a sculpture.
Ah, there you go, first one.
Would it be a sculpturist? A sculptist?
That's just a sculptor, really. It is weird. Like
that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it is interesting when you say that though. It's weird as well. Like as you starting to do this, like that moment to feel like you can call yourself that. It's really weird. Like it's like when your first early days are doing it, you don't feel like I'm an artist. and you're just not sure on yourself because you're not got a lot of work behind you backing or success or anything. You don't feel like I'm not. I can't call myself this yet because I'm not doing well enough in my head. You know what I mean? So it's easy enough. Like I go, okay, no, I am a sculptor. But it's all go on and try that. I'm a bit more comfortable in my work and myself, and I've done this a bit longer. So yeah, it's like, okay, well, that is what I am. So yeah.
So that's interesting you say that, because I get that. Like early days of this show, I would just say, oh, here's an episode of the podcast, or here's a podcast episode. And now it's like, I am a podcaster and I do these things because it has grown. So it is interesting you say that, because you very rarely promote it in the early days and it's kind of rough. And then as it starts to take off more and more, it almost like takes over like your That's interesting you say that. Back to what I was saying before this though. So I have talked to a good amount of artists and stuff. And the cool thing that I have seen is that in the 21st century, mainly like 2015 on, when like social media started becoming like really prominent, you see like people doing things creatively or even organically original that they're really passionate about, and making an income or creating a business out of it, rather than just getting a standard 9 to 5. So by you saying like you can actually make a career out of it, I think do you think a big part of that comes from this social media expansion that we see in this 21st century?
I definitely feel like it's, in some ways, if you're clever enough to understand the whole craziness of the algorithm works. Oh, sorry, weird thing. Hang on 2 seconds. I'll just get this. Like, my things are doing weird. Hang on. Sorry, there we go.
No, you're good.
Sorry, I'll answer again. To answer that, I feel like if you understand the whole social media concept of it, like, the whole craziness of how algorithms work and otherwise, or how it works to get yourself promoted, it gives, it does definitely give people hope as well. It does give people of incentive, to inspires a lot of people to want to do it. Like I say, because you see on social media, there's so many like artists, so many sculptors, and some ways it can be daunting, because it's like, oh, how am I going to shine above? How am I going to shine from all of them? But at the same time, it's like you've got this opportunity to get into so many doors. Like you say, you can do it right. I don't feel like I've nailed it. I feel like most artists don't know if they've nailed it yet, because I don't really know how the system really works. Really, like, well, you found me from it, so that's amazing. It does have this brilliant connect through everybody, doesn't it? Like through all corners of the world. So it is great in that aspect. If you can nail it, yeah, definitely. I think you can definitely. Well, for my girlfriend, for example, she's an illustrator, and she does a lot of work through Instagram and other social media. And she does really well with it. She gets a lot of business through it, and it's growing and growing a little bit more. And so I can see that snowballing effect a little bit. Like once she worked it all out, I can see it going on. But for me, I want to try and grow it, but I'm not just relying focusing on that. I'm trying to go for my audience. I think target market is a bit older, so I'm trying to do more direct marketing of like going to like actual like proper shows. And this is a whole big plan wise for me. So it's kind of knowing what you think your market is good for. And it's just, but to answer your question, yes. So I don't know if I'm tangenting on or something else.
No, you're good. No, you're good. Yeah, you were just saying that your market's almost a little older, and so you're trying to do more direct. And I get that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's always like for specific areas or specific genres. I always think it's definitely, you got to find your niche. You got to find the people that will follow you. And sculpting, I guarantee, is like that, because You know, the cool thing that I've always known about like sculptures and stuff is like you can always be baffled by them. And this is
Yeah,
true with
yeah.
anything that is artistic. It's just sculptures, like it magnifies. Like, I mean, to an extent, like would you call a super magnificent building a sculpture?
Oh yeah, I think in some ways, yes, yeah. I used to get inspired by buildings like some architects, like there are some magnificent kinds, there are some magnificent buildings out there. So definitely, you could definitely get inspired by that. But to answer you guys a little bit about the sculpture factor, like their wow factor, like I actually did do after I came back from uni, I started to get into painting a lot, and it used to be like my little Saturday thing. And I could do it, and I got to the point where I was quite good. And I was trying to juggle all these hats because I'm like, oh, I like a bit of painting, I like a bit of sculpture, I like a bit of this, and I couldn't seem to decide where I was. And the one thing that stopped me, what made me go down the sculpture work, I had more success in my sculpture work than I did my painting and other work. I noticed, for me, getting back to what you saying, niching down, I like realized I could become more successful, get to the top of the food chain easier if I did my sculpture work. I had like say a bit more of a wow factor. It made me realize it's not as easy as it is. You know what I mean? It's not. I would say it's a little bit more difficult. You have to obviously have a bit, tools and a bit of the space to do it wise, but it still is that element of feel like I knew that I had something different in the sculpture element a little bit, and it has that little, like say, more wow factor. And
Mhm.
it's like amazing. I like to turn people's what about my work wise is I like to change the perception of metal. A lot of people think of metal and think it's big, robust, and very, very, very strong, and just very kind of cold wise. I like to turn that perception into making very organic and very delicate, and I used to surprise a lot of people with some of the stuff I do. That actually they realize it's metal, and so that's the nice bit, that uniqueness of, if you get me, that's what I like to do.
Mhm.
So, but a little quote, who is it? This is my silly quote. I like to think this anyway. Is Picasso said, I know I don't want to say the big name Picasso, but he said sculpture is the art of, oh damn, I've got to ruin it now. Is the art of intelligent art. It's basically about saying like it's not just an idea concept, it's idea concept, but three dimensional. It's I need to find I'll get the quote better really, but it was something along the lines of that.
So this is gonna sound ridiculous, but I think SpongeBob is awesome in a sense. You know what SpongeBob is? I'm sure you
Yeah,
do. Yeah. And
yeah.
so I was like, do you know what SpongeBob is? Everyone knows what SpongeBob is. And one of the episodes of SpongeBob that I always like think about as intelligent is like the episode where they're doing the sculptures and SpongeBob's just like super good at it and Squidward wants to be good at it, but he's not good, and
Yeah.
SpongeBob's just natural at it. Do you think that sculpting is something that comes to you naturally, or do you think that like you develop the skill over time? So let me put that in a different way. Do you think that you were naturally inclined to want to be a sculptor and be good at it, or do you think that no, like you just like artistically sound, and so sculpting you
Yeah.
just found it along the way?
No, that's interesting. That's a good question. I think I've always had a net sense of three dimensional form. Really, like even when I drawed, I used to always draw in three dimensional, and used to at the time I was quite known. Well, I don't want to say like a child prodigy, but I got told a lot, like quite wild, a lot of people from my age. I used to draw very three dimensional, like as a young age. I used to baffle a lot of the teachers. I feel like I'm really getting really ego now. Like, oh, I was so very good at doing this.
No, you're not.
But it was just saying that I used to always just, it's more fascinating to do the three dimensional. And I always thought, well, it just makes it come alive, doesn't it? I think I just love that three dimensional form. So I think I wasn't too surprised. And then when I used to then get into driving cars all the time, I used to always knew how to do it three dimensional on paper or on things. So I think I always feel like I've had in a sense to be able to do it. And even when doing some sculpture work, I don't see other sculptors, and I'm not poo wise, but sometimes when they're doing something, they create a lot of frames for it to make a figure or some kind of animal or something, and they make a very basic frame for it. And I always feel like I don't need to do that. Like I'm always surprised a lot of times they do. Like obviously it doesn't help it. Maybe I'm doing it, making life harder for myself. But I'm always like, oh no, I can do it in a few lines. I don't need to do loads of things to help me. And I've always done it. I like to challenge myself to. Yeah, so I always feel like I've got a good perception. I don't know. I think so. I do feel there is some in a sense skill. Obviously, you do hone it. I do feel like I have honed it over time. Got more comfortable in your saying. I do think you've pushed the boundaries and your skill set. But I do think there is that tiny bit of sense, something.
I am fascinated by interests in things, like why people are interested in certain things, why ideas attack the mind of certain people.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't. I mean, it's so important because we're so similar as human beings. We're the same species, but we're all so different. Like there's
Yeah.
like there like not only is there like human beings, but there's also like men and women. Like those are like two humans who are like more alike than different, but so different. And then beyond that, there's the like people have different IQs, people have different interests, And so I'm always fascinated by why certain people are interested in certain things. And I think to an extent, what I've learned is because before I started this podcast talking to all different types of people, I thought not everybody was creative. I thought some people were creative, some people not. But now that what I'm finding talking to a lot of people is everyone's creative. It's just if they're passionate about what they're creating, if people aren't necessarily tapping into that creativity, maybe they're not passionate about what they're doing. And so I think it's more about like, what I'm learning more about life is you got to find something you're passionate about and then add your own originality to it. And I think that's what you're saying you do with sculpture is like you have this perception and you see something and then you like mold and then obviously you get better over time. But
Sorry,
you get better over time. And so but you still add some of your own originality to it.
Yeah. No, definitely. I get where you're coming from. Because I was like, I mean, obviously, I don't want to bring this situation at the moment, but it's like I always feel like it's not when people don't find their passion wise, and also realizing, don't just think stopgap creativity means being an artist, being musician, being this and all that. Creativity is in many aspects. It gets me like it's you can be creative in science, you can be creative in outside of thinking and marketing, or there's lots of aspects to creativity. I don't feel like we don't really. I feel like the world puts the creativity in a box and think, oh, it's only people who are do painting or do this, and it's just like there are lots of and give it like you said, and I feel like then you might give it more respect, and then realize how precious it is to find the to like I say tap and open your passions, because I feel like we're so much more complete as human beings if you have a passion or it's all. And like Dad always said to me years ago, saying he doesn't wants me just to be happy and doing something that I love and passionate. So he's helped me support my my parents have helped me support my career because they wanted me to be happy, and they knew that this is what I should be doing. If like they knew this is my passion and they wanted me to do it. And so obviously I have the struggles of trying to understand and get it going. And so there's like say it's just I was thinking with this whole situation. I know I keep bringing I don't want to bring up like this the COVID and all, but I hope that it's giving people a pause a little bit. I hope it's giving people a little time to reset and go, actually, what is really important in my life? I feel like it has. I've talked to a lot of people that I've sometimes bumped into, obviously socially bumped into, and like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about this. And it's just like nice to hear like it's giving people stop from the whole rat race and start them to realize actually what do I really want? You know what I mean? It's like there's so much more than just waking up the next day doing something you hate for the next five days and then it's a weekend and then you know what I mean? So it's and like I say it's precious. I take really grateful that I get to do whenever I have a bad day sometime like and I could be no offense to waitresses or something like that. I could be doing something I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And yet, so even though may have a few moments of complaining, it's not, it's going all right, isn't it? So, yeah, hopefully more people find their passions because we've got, endless opportunities.
Endless. And I have been saying this since the start of my podcast. COVID has given me the chance to start something like this and grow
That's
it.
great.
Yeah, and it's weird too because like before I was like last, so I'm in college. So let me get it. Last semester, I was I like kind of was doing this, but it was like wasn't really like anything yet. It wasn't like a show. It wasn't like I was promoting it. It was like I would do an episode, be like, hey, you should check this out.
Yeah.
And I kind of had a feeling that I was like I could do it, but it wasn't like ready yet. And then as COVID like first hit, right before COVID hit, I started doing it through Zoom, but I wasn't really posting things. But I was like just feeling like seeing a person face to face seems more
Yeah.
personal, I guess. And so we got sent home because of COVID and everything. Everything blew up. This was March of last year. Okay,
Yeah.
scratch everything I'm saying. Scratch everything I was thinking. Scratch everything I'm saying. We get this. Fast forward to after we get sent home. So
Yeah.
I'm already sent home, and then I started this. But it wasn't really anything. And then last semester, which COVID was already happening, that's when it started building up. And then I go home for winter break, and that's when it really took off. So we didn't play football, so I played football here, and we didn't play football all last semester, and it kind of had this podcast idea stirring in my head, you know.
Yeah.
And then I finally went home and I was free, and I was just like talking to some of my friends and things like that, and then I was like, hey, like, do you want to come on the show? And they were like, yeah. And then it started building up, and then I would start DMing people, and now it's where it's at.
Yeah.
And one thing I've always told people is like, what this is giving me, what COVID is giving me is like you were saying, is giving me a pause. It's like, I don't have to just be a student athlete. Like I can follow some other passions. And, you know, one thing I will say to people, I try to tell people like a lot that I'm close to a lot, this is if you have an idea and you can't get that idea stuck out of your head and it's something you can pause it and do, just try it, man. Like who cares if you fail? Like just try it. And I think you would agree.
Yeah, definitely. It is interesting, like you say, like when you hear people who like you say, had an and have like an itch or something about like, you know, you talk to some people like, oh, I really wanted to do this once ages ago. And you think how sad it is. Like, well, you could have given it a go, and then, like you say, you feel, you know, it's like you'll just burn on you for the rest of your life and everything. But that's why, like I say, I know, and positive is to look on that and realize, you know, at your age you are, and I take that as an inspiration. Well, don't go down that path. Then come on, we need to, you know, keep pushing the boundaries a little bit more. And I do feel like sometimes I am a bit bug to be a bit cautious, but it's but the everyone's going at me. You can't hear that, can you? I don't think. Can you? Can you hear that?
Yeah, but it's fine.
But yeah, I think everyone's forgotten what I'm doing right now. But no. It'll go off. You want me to just leave it?
Yeah, it's fine. You can leave it.
Okay. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh, I feel really bad.
No,
the
don't
worst
feel bad.
podcaster person ever, isn't it?
No, it's not. You're good.
So what I was gonna say is, I'll just stop until the way that goes.
It shouldn't be too much longer. If it's interrupting,
I don't know if you can cut it out or not.
Yeah. If it's
Right,
interrupting
there we go.
your thought, all right, there you go.
Okay, I didn't want to let you be talking and you hear that in the background. And
Yeah,
like,
I feel that.
Sorry. What I'm gonna say is, oh god, we lost my train of thought. You know, oh god, I forgot now. Yeah, sorry.
What were we talking? We were talking about. We were talking about.
The goals.
I forgot. I think we were talking about starting things during COVID and how. And how you should do something if you want to do it. And you were saying something about if you lose it, if you don't do it, you could have. We were basically saying like better to regret doing something than to have never done it at all.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Definitely. I think. Yeah. You can't, because otherwise, like you say, you'll never know. You never know what possibilities. And I will say I was going to say though is like I'm trying to consciously be like that and push yourself a bit more. And it's hard, like I will admit, because like sometimes I got the tendency to struggle to keep pushing yourself. It's quite hard sometimes. You get quite cautious to. Especially like for me, example in the marketing bit, it's like I want to push to grow and become a better level and get more reach and get to a higher class of clientele and stuff. And you want to push yourself, and it's like having the faith a little bit to just go to the big show. Cause I've got like a lot of things in my head at the moment. Right, how I need to push to get to the next level, and it's like I'm almost prepping myself all the time. I'm constantly not trying to like sandbag, ready for waiting for this like leap to happen. And then after this COVID thing, I'm like, right, I can't get all the things happen. Then COVID, I was like, oh god damn it, this is where. So I'm constantly feel like I've always been like just prepping myself, waiting for this big kind of like leap to the world a little bit more, like some big shows are going to do. And like that is one bit with me. Why I need to realize to push yourself to just go for it. Sometimes, like I've been working up towards work wise. It's like, yeah, you want to, yeah. That's still all I'm saying. I'm an issue as well. I know doing well so far. But it can still can get these lingering things. So, like I say, it keeps me going to think, no, I know I want to be my end goal. I want to be over there, the higher earning bit. So that keeps you that fire in you to go, well, I'm not there yet. You always want us to reach this next height, really. So I always wonder, like, I always wonder that, like, no offense to people who like, want to, if they just want to do the Monday Friday job and seem to be happy and do it, because there's a lot of people out there just maybe want that kind of life, and I just think sometimes I feel a bit bad when I'm like, oh, why you should have a bit more of an ambition to do this, or you should do this, or push yourself. At the same time, if you're happy doing, if you enjoy what you're doing, though, I don't think there's no pressure. After there's so much less depression in your head, less mental issues, less, I don't, yeah, there's lots of, as long as you're doing something what you're happy with, that's means. Because there is a lot of stress, like say, if you don't with self-employed stuff and doing something your own business, there's a lot of stresses, obviously. So if that puts a lot of people off and puts strain on yourself, then like I say, do something else. It's just doing that thing that's happy. Like, I mean, I could have easily done just become a blacksmith for apprentice. I could have just gone down that route. And as long as I'm still making stuff like that, and all the worries of being a business owner and all that lot are out of my hands now. It's the employers, issue. So it could, that kind of roots, but I still would have been happy. I think. But at the same time, me, I've got this bit of ego. I want to have my name out there and be, top dollar, sculptor. So, but yeah. So I don't know if that helps answer your question.
No, it does. It does. I was just thinking that like artistic behavior and things of that nature, anything, when people, because I don't know if everyone's like this, but I know I am for sure, is like sometimes I'll have an idea about something and I'll be laying in bed and like I toss and turn all night because I'm thinking about that one idea, or that idea spurs into 10 ideas, And so one of the things I always say is that like, don't run from those ideas. But I think a lot of people are afraid of failure, afraid of judgment, afraid of losing something secure that they have. I mean, I'm the same way. One of the things that I'm struggling with right now is balancing. Not only my girlfriend lives at home and I'm in a different state, going to school, playing football, having a show, and being I'm a straight A student. So like those are 5 major things that take over my life. Not to mention I'm religious, my family, I have a lot of things that I'm balancing, but I'm trying to do my best at it. And one of the things I'm struggling with is, what are my priorities? I have these 10 things, these 7 to 10 things that are like really truly important to me, but what is number 1 on that list? And what is number 7? And the problem is, at any given time, any of them can feel like 1 and any of them can feel like 7, And so I think one of the biggest things you can do, especially if you're young, is, make sure you have your priorities in check. What do you want to do? And then where does that fall on the line? Because let me give you an example. Let's say that I wanted to make this podcast my end goal, right? Let's say that this is what I want to do for a living. But on my list of my priorities, it's number 7. That's not going to happen. You're not putting enough time into it. You're not grinding for what you want. If it's the 7th most important thing to you, you're not going to make it the number 1 thing. It's got to be 1 or 2 after family or loved ones. It's got to be something you strive for. And if it's not, you got to be ready to understand that you're not going to get it. But I think for hobbies and things like that, if you have an idea, just start it. It doesn't have to be number 1. It just has to be number 1 if you want to do that for a career. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I definitely get you. Yeah. I definitely get you. Because I'd say I relate a little bit is because I had a lot of things in my mind. I was like, I wanted to go down, do painting. I wanted to do this type of sculpture work. I wanted to do design work. And I was trying to do them all at once. And because I wanted to be like known as being super creative. But anything I can turn my hand to, I can be creative. And it's like, same time, it's like when you look at that, it's like, and I was like looking at all this, like getting nowhere. And thinking like, why is this not working out? It's not working out. And also on my social media channels, I had a bit of everything, a bit of painting in there, a bit of the my lighting bit and other big sculpture work. And it's like when I look at it, I'm thinking, if I try to, I look at it like as an observer, like someone else looking at it, I'm thinking, what the hell is this guy doing? It would be like, what the hell, what's going on here? You don't know what he got. Like say, he doesn't got no career path. It looks like he's got no direction. He's got no kind of like thought about where he's going to go really. So I remember thinking, right, I need to just focus on one, like you say, and focus on what your real passion are. And so when I realised, and I had that hard down sit to yourself, I thought, right, be a sculptor. Be a sculptor. That's what I did, and I thought, right, that's what the biggest one I want to do. It's that, and how am I going to make that happen? Like you say, and so it's exactly so with your podcast. Like you've had this idea, you want to do it, you need that, and then it's just burn that itch, and if it doesn't work, then you can say you've done it, but if you'll never know until you start doing it. But also the thing I was going to say though is you've got to keep and not get daunted by the because it's I always think when it's your idea, it's so precious, and you get quite sensitive to whenever you know what I mean. It's when it's your, like for me, when anyone talks about your business or your outreach, so like it's hard to not be too sensitive to it when someone says something about it, or when you must find in the early days when you think, oh, what the hell are you doing this for? Or you know what I mean, and you try to make it for doing it. Yeah, exactly. It's like you don't need any of that anyway. You've already got enough of them bloody demons in your head, probably, aren't you? Yeah. So you can't so it's quite hard to sometimes have to have that tough shell a little bit to just have faith in it, have faith that, and like you say, keep bringing yourself back to the enjoyment factor. I think that's what, for me, wise, is keep bringing back into the enjoyment factor is why you want to do it, and you enjoy it, and then that keeps the fuel going. I think in my eyes it does, and obviously to me, obviously encouragement helps. And when you start doing well a little bit, you know you're doing quite well. I think everybody gets suckered down to that when you want to feel like we're doing good in something, don't we? So. And that did obviously help me a little bit, because I thought, oh, you're doing really good. You're good at this. You're good at that. Okay, so you kind of that added to the fuel to keep it going. So it is hard if you straight away something new. Like I feel like it'd be easy for me because I've always had an arty side, and everyone's always known me. I've been quite good at art. So I've always been from an early age had a kind of a path. It feels like when I think of it, I've always had like a path towards the art really without me knowing. And whereas always with other people-wise, it's weird to. And I've taken it for granted. I feel so blessed the fact that I talk to some people. I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. I want to do it. And I think it's really sad. I always really like, oh, come on, what can I? I always feel like want to try and find them a passion. I want to find them a cause. And I always keep saying you want to keep trying different things. Just you'll find, even if you're passionate, like say one little hobby, a little bit, like, or just even if it's playing golf, or even if it's just if that's your main thing and passion, maybe do something more linked towards it and, work in that industry or something instead of just being, okay, I have my one little hobby on the weekend. You know what I mean? Maybe make it more of your passion, if you get me, and then you wouldn't be. Anyway, I don't know if that answers the question.
No, you are. Yeah. Isn't it crazy how like 100 positive things people could say to you sticks in your head just as much as one negative thing that you're saying to yourself. Like I always think it's crazy how like the worst thing that you can do is let somebody else ensure the negative criticism that's in your head. You know what I mean? If you let someone do that, you've already lost. Because like you get a let me give you an example. You get let's say someone's like, oh, this piece is brilliant. You feel good for that moment, but it's really easy to let it go. You don't harp on it all day. But if someone's like, God, that is god awful. That is dog water. Get out of here. You're probably like thinking about it all day. You're like,
carrying out of the way.
Am I dog water? Like, and it's one of the things you have to realize is you got to let go. You got to let go of the negative, just like just as well as you let go of the positive. You feel it for a second. You think about it, and if it's actual criticism, because there's a difference between someone being like, hey, this piece needs another thing. Maybe you should try this. Something who knows something about sculpting or something who knows something about what I do. That's like positive criticism. You're like, and you're like, maybe you'll be like, damn, that hurts a little bit, but like you learn from it and you grow. Then someone your dog water. Like they're just being a hater,
Yeah. No, definitely relate to that. Yeah, because I feel like you've got that's something I am learning a lot more is that analyzing your ego a little bit and just constantly like I'm trying to always keep it in check a little bit and realize when people say things like say it's just a thought, it's just they don't have any power. It's just a thought at the end of the day, and try and remember that. It is hard too. Though I still, it's easy saying it right now, but it is hard to like just let them just channel through and
Yeah.
not be like say cling a hold to you. Because it's I can say the same thing when you get positive comments. Sometimes it's this way we are British wise, but sometimes when someone says nice things to you, like you go, "Oh yeah, it's all right,
Yeah.
you poo-pooing. It's like, no, maybe just accept that. So he's like, accept it. Like, it's like, no, it was good. Yeah, okay, yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's good. It's good. And you should accept it, like saying and feel it. And, yeah, like you say, and then everything else that doesn't, serve you any purpose, you just let it go, shouldn't you? And so, and I'll just take the criticism on board, like you say, because I do feel like I've learned to, um, looking from other kind of sculptors and getting some. If it has been hard to kind of get critique a little bit, because obviously when we early starting out, you kind of want some kind of direction, want some kind of like nod, and I've like reached out to some sculptors and they've been quite helpful and supportive. And it's like amazing to think of where I was a few years ago, and I got a few little people giving me a little bit of support, and I know I'm so much better than I am then. I always sometimes love to look back sometimes at old sketchbooks and old drawings and think, wow, I used to think I was really good then, like, but how come I am now? And it's just sometimes it's a nice little confirmation to think, look, see, you are getting better. You are. It's just this nice progression thing. If you're keeping at it, you are progressing something else. It's exciting to think, where could I be next? Then I'm like, I'm only still under 30 yet. So well, I've got one more year of being under 30. They're like, still the world's my oyster. Still think I could get more done. But at the same time, you always want to do more, like instantly, don't you? But I'm starting to realize it's that journey. It's enjoyable, isn't it? It's enjoyable to progress.
Instant gratification versus delayed gratification. It's so
Yeah.
you put off something for instant gratification, like playing video games or partying, if you like, that's all good and fun once in a while, but if you do it for months on end, delaying things or pushing off things that you want to do or know you need to do, that's when it becomes a problem. One of the biggest things that I deal with is I'm a super anxious person. I deal with anxiety super bad. And so I gotta like, I'm super hard on myself too. And so I have to like disassociate myself from those negative feelings. And it's one of the hardest things that I've ever that I'm doing. One of the worst things. So I'm a kicker in football, and it's a head game, man. That is literally a head game. It's all in your head. And so like even yesterday, I had a decent day. I didn't have a bad day. I didn't have a great day, but I didn't have a bad day by any stretch. And the last day I've been in my head about it, thinking like, how did I do bad? Things like that. So it's like, one of those things is you can't listen to those internal thoughts, because they're not you, and everyone deals with them. But like, if you let them just circulate there and postulate, man, you can find yourself in a world of hurt. And no, it's not by any stretch or your imagination, because you can feel it, So disassociating yourself with those negative thoughts and making sure that that's not you.
Do you have like mechanisms? Do you do any mechanisms to try and like to disattach it, or are you still working progress? This is grit.
I try to. One of the things I try to do, one is take your vitamins. That's the one thing I say is you should always take your vitamins. Especially, I live in the Pacific Northwest of United States for college, and it's super gloomy here. And I'm from Vegas, where it's super sunny. So vitamin D is something that's super like
not getting any.
My heart. Yeah. So when I'm here, I have to take vitamin D, or else I'll be like low in my mood. And then I also try to breathe when I'm getting like that. And then another thing is write down like writing down, if I'm really bad in my head, writing down like, okay, what are you actually worried about?
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And then what are like thoughts that like could happen, the worst things that could happen or could have happened, and the best things that could have happened, and then what probably happened, or what probably is going to happen. So it's finding that balance of good and bad to keep you growing and keep you getting better, but also not keeping you like contained in like chains. That's what I do.
Yeah, I feel like you say, try and think sometimes like when I think, I'm like, why am I thinking this? Why you just try and answer the question, like you say, asking questions, and then go like, why is this coming now? Why and what's the issue? And then like I said, but it's good as an idea to write them down, and it might become easier to clarity. It's once you get them. I feel like for me, it's like once you get them in thoughts and out identified as just thoughts, and instead of disattaching them from physically you, I just think there's just think they're just a thought. And I've tried to think of him like not like the drunk monkey in your head a little bit, like that he's just constantly trying to throw things out to get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
I try to keep thinking like that and just think he's just someone who's trying to put a movie reel on you on a time, and he's just trying to. He knows you're scared of the the not the good ones, so he keeps pulling them out. You get more of a reaction from them. So I'll try and think of it in that way, but yeah, writing it down is a good idea. I feel like because that's as long as that's me. For me, it's just trying to see if you can get them out and realize they're not part of you. But that's a good idea. I'm going to write that down actually. Write them down here. So
you write them down, you get them out, and you can read them.
Yeah.
And see how stupid they are.
Yeah. Then you'll realize,
because it sounds so right in your head. Negative thoughts sound so correct when they're speaking to you. Like, you suck, you're not good, you're not gonna. It sounds so right, and then you write them down and be like, "No, I don't." And then your ego starts to get, "No, I don't." And then it's a constant balance of like conscious and subconscious mind. Man, negative, like, it's so crazy that humans, like, that's like one of the most prominent features of humans is that there's this inner conscious in them that is either feeding them good things and helping them grow, which negative thoughts do, or it's just like constantly like fighting them, and it's wild because it's like, I mean, that's what keeps us innovating and keeps us growing. It's like, no, I can do this and stuff like that. But it also is something that keeps a lot of people sheltered, man. Keeps a lot of people from doing what they want to do.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm like, say, when you say it, it's like, why the hell is it there in a reason? Like, it makes you feel like, we think evolution, like, we should be going towards a perfect kind of, rare species or whatever. It's like, why the hell does that bit exist then? Why is the negativity side to it? I mean, and sometimes it's helpful to go, okay, it exists because it's there to try and protect you in some situations and to try and lessen your ego a little bit. And it's trying to, and it's like recognize it's just trying. That is a mechanism to keep you alive a little bit in some ways. Yeah. But it is, like, say, baffling. Still at the same time, it's like, come on, But that's what I feel like we need. I think this whole world and this lockdown realizing to a lot of people is how important and how crucial the mind is. And it's like, and it's sad to think it's only taken this to make people realize a bit more that how crucial it is a little bit. And but I do think, like, say, hopefully, if you go back to the other thing, saying, like, if people do what you enjoy wise, it just helps the other one out. I just think totally a lot more. Like, then again, still, I'm not, and there's some people still out there that'll struggle, even though they're probably doing what their passion is. But even for me, my example, it's quite nice I can shut off when I do my work and my art wise, I can shut off into another world and another zone. That's my escapism. It's like you can. So that's why I feel like it's quite lucky in doing art wise. You can, take yourself in somewhere else, and it's quite nice to. But for example, in your podcast, you might be talking. I always think sometimes it's interesting. We have, like, all these different characters. I always feel like we have this character, like, like, it's when for me, first time meeting you, I'm kind of in another character at the moment. You know what I mean? I'm not, like, fully me. Or I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, you're in this other zone a little bit, and it's all good. You're a nice guy. Like, it's all good. But I'm just saying, like, it's like, the only after, like, say, meet a few times, I'll start to get more
comfortable.
But at the same time, I still like this person now. It was like putting his full face, he's all happy, dappy, all good the first time. Then after more time, you realise it'll be more subdued a little bit. You'll be more. I always find it amazing, like, say, how we have these different modes. It's just like with so multiple versions of ourselves. It's just like understanding that we're not just one being. We think we're this one person, but I feel like we're multiple persons. It's like hard to remember we are multiple.
We're let me just put this in example for the listeners and everything. Imagine everybody knows 100 people, right? Yeah. So that's 100 different yous. That's 100 different. So let's say my example, that's 100 Collins that exist in the world. Then you got to add those 100 people who speak about me to 100 people, which is 10,000 people. That's 10,000 different Collins to 10,000 different people. And then let's just say, or even my influence, 10,000 different Collins influences. 10,000 times 100, that's 1,000,000. That's 1,000,000 different Collins influences that are out in the world. 3 people away. 3 people away is 1,000,000 different yous that exist through influence. Now it's probably a little less than that, but that's if everyone knows 100 people, that's basically
Yeah.
what it is. So just thinking about that, it makes you think. Be positive to people. So
Yeah.
don't, because think about it. Let me just give an example of what negativity can do. So let's say I have a bad podcast. I'm having a great podcast, but let's say I have a bad one. I'm pissed off. I go out there, I scream at my roommate for no reason. Just yell because I'm mad.
Yeah.
He calls his mom and his mom's just trying to talk to him and he yells at her. Because I just yelled at him. His mom is home.
Yeah.
She's pissed off. She yells at maybe his younger brother. His younger brother goes to school, yells at one of his friends. His friend yells at
Yeah.
their parent. Their parent yells at their boss or their coworker. And it's this whole chain reaction of negativity. Meanwhile, I'm having a great podcast. We're having a great one. I give you a couple of smiles. You give another person a smile, smile. And it's a chain reaction. It's a chain reaction of positivity or negativity. So next time, before you think of yelling at someone because you're pissed off, think about what the chain reaction of your actions actually are.
Yeah, and that's what I always find amazing when you are in a heated argument or stuff. It's like amazing how you suddenly need to like say another character, this other rage moment. It's like this instantaneous. You're like, and it can go just as quickly. It's just to remember that it can just go like that. So it's like just get out of the way. But obviously not to anyone. But it's like if you get out of the way, it's like you realize that was mad. What the hell? You know what I mean? And realize it can be over. You know what I mean? That split second, it feels like the only thing to do is to do that. And I don't know, for me, it's maybe there's a lesson to realize is it'll go straight away and you'll think completely different as soon as you've vented or whatever. And you realize how silly you were. You know what I mean? It's sad that it's only after you realize. But yeah, it's a good point the way you said though. How it's that chain reaction though.
I think venting is important though. I will say. I
yeah, exactly. Otherwise, you'll be even then it'll be a bigger explosion, won't it? And you'll probably cause yourself more.
But vent to someone that knows you're venting.
Yeah.
Like someone.
Or you can vent. You have to vent at someone. You can vent like.
Yeah,
true. You know what I mean? You can
with someone versus at someone.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, I think the whole reason why swear words are created are brilliant. Just vent away on there. They're very helpful. I heard. I watched a documentary on swear words. It's quite funny, saying like how they're important, they're helpful, and they're healthy. But yeah, exactly. But as long as the person knows that you're doing it, like I said, I think we all do that. Like I do it with my girlfriend sometimes. It's when you snap at you, like, sorry, that was, I was in the world, and we all realize that. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's when it's sad that when you hear when my girlfriend said to me saying, for example, if the boss or something was coming to you and had a go at you, so it's like, and maybe just to realize it's not the him, whatever he's saying, it's voicing his securities onto you. It's not. Don't take it so personally. Because I think sometimes they're just voicing their shit onto you. Like I say, sometimes it's to. I don't know if I'm swear, like, their voice. You know what I mean? Sometimes they're deliberately doing it to don't take it. Am I making sense?
Yeah, you're making sense.
Yeah, so that's the only bit. Sometimes it's hard, so it feels like you have to be a better person. Sometimes realize it, then you'll be better off doing that, and like you say, breaking that chain a little bit. And it's like, I don't know, I'm trying to like to be that better person, and shift it down and to no one else. You know what I mean? I feel like we're complicated human beings, aren't we? It's complicated.
Yeah, we are complicated.
It's mental, aren't we? Like so many tiny little things that's going on in the world. Like just complex.
Yeah. So where are you from exactly?
Oh, sorry. So I'm in northern England. So it's like we got. Say you got states. Like I'm in like a state like we call them counties. So I'm like in Yorkshire County. So it's quite a northern. So if you ever watch Game of Thrones, just think of me as a northerner. That's what I always like to tell people. Like we're just south of the wall. That's where I am.
Have you always grown up in northern England?
Yeah. Always been. Pretty much.
I've never been to Europe.
Yeah.
Have you been to the United States?
Yeah, I went to Disneyland. I know younger. Went to Florida, and I've been to Daytona Beach.
Yeah, Florida. That's in Florida.
It's the same place. All right, yeah. So I've been twice. I went. My granddad's there, lives in Florida, so I've visited him a few times. I haven't been for a while. It was when I was a kid when I last time I went. I do want to go again. Do want to go. I want to. There's a lot to tick off on it in America. I think there's so much. It's you just forget how vast it is. Like it's weird. I always think because also your state is the size of my country.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it baffles me when you look. Like USA as a country. Right?
You forget how big it is living here because like we're the United States, we're Americans, but like we're all so different, And I think we're seeing that now. We're finally seeing that. There's like we're having the big argument right now is the progressive like urban people who live in cities, people who are more educated versus the blue collar middle ground states, rural. And I think a lot of the argument is that there's different ways of living in the United States because it's so vast. Like the East Coast is very different than the West Coast. We have different, like, because we have like, I don't know how many different accents. There's like my accent, which is like a standard American accent, I would say, like what you hear in movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's like the Southern drawl, y'all, and stuff like that. And then there's like the East Coast Boston accent, the New Yorker, and then there's like the Canadian, Minnesota people, and then but like those like we have all and then there's the Hispanics who are more in the South, Hispanic accents. So we have all these different type of people, different type of speaking, and we all try to come together under one United States.
It's going to be an odd combination into it. And I always think when only from when my granddad telling me, like, because I was too young at the time to kind of really understand America really, but when Emmy tells me, it's just like it's amazing to like state to state. It's like you're like a different country, like you make up different laws and different things. That used to baffle me. It's like you just constantly you're not in a different country yet you are. It seems to me. I don't know from overhearing him why it sounds like say you've just turned into one state to another. It's like this is this rule, that's this rule, and this is, you know what I mean? It's different.
So this is what I can help you with because I am a political science student. The way the United States work is federalism. Do you know what federalism is? You might not.
No.
So you wouldn't know unless you lived here. It's federal government is supreme to the state government, and that wasn't really always the case. When we first came here from England and we first were like declaring our independence, we had the Articles of Confederation, which was the states were supreme. It was a confederation of states. The states were supreme to the federal government. And then we were like, nope, doesn't work because the federal government had no power. And they were like, we can't tax, like we need armies and we need things that unify us. So then what we did was they wrote James Madison, the founders, John Adams, John Jay, all them, they wrote Thomas Jefferson, if you know any, George Washington.
Yeah, I remember, they ring a bell.
Yeah, they wrote the Constitution, and which is this very vast, vague written Constitution.
That's the thing that brought you all together. Then
but what really brought us together was so the Bill of Rights. Do you know what? I'm sure England has.
I've heard it. I don't know the importance. I've heard all these in movies, like you say.
Yeah. So the Bill of Rights is just like the 10 First Amendments to the Constitution, which is like we have the right to free speech, the right to bear arms, things like that. And so, but the states didn't think that they were a part of that for a while. So the states thought that they had the Bill of Rights, the federal Bill of Rights, because at first it only applied to the federal government, and then the 14th Amendment was like the big one. It made all people born citizens, so slaves. It made the slaves citizens, or they weren't slaves then because of the 13th Amendment, but they were the African Americans. They were finally citizens, and it also made the Bill of Rights apply to the states. So the states couldn't enact law that went against the federal government. So that's why we see marijuana is illegal federally, but it's legal in certain states.
Yeah, that's a bit of baffling. Like I say, like you hear a lot about it in the news, like some bits going. It's like, how the hell, like something can be something like that extreme? You'd be like, you know what I mean? It baffles me.
So it all comes from the 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment says, that all powers not written down to the federal government goes to the states to decide. So the federal government is supreme. So whatever the federal government says reigns supreme, but the states get to they get some powers. That's why abortion's a hot topic right now, because the federal government through the Supreme Court enacted it unconstitutional. but for a while, states were allowed to make abortion illegal. So it's becoming
Right.
it becomes a problem with southern, or not southern, but state tradition versus the federal government's power. That's like
Yeah.
kind of the clash we're having right now.
Jeez, she must be so like so confused all the time. Like it's like God, like yeah, like just locking knuckleheads, and then actually, yeah, it's like who's got the right? I don't know. Yeah, it must be such a weird, confusing area.
Yeah, United States is it's wild. It's
Wild Wild West.
complex. It's definitely complex. We learned most of our stuff from you guys though, like Blackstone and common law and stuff. What I learned that was fascinating about you guys is your constitution is unwritten. So you guys basically act on like social norms and things like that.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm good. What's I mean? Like we just kind of like take it for example, or take it for granted, or just we just do it because of
Well, your parliament is supreme, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like what they say, no one can like really challenge that. All we have the separation of power. So there's the president, the Congress, and the Supreme Court, and they challenge each other all the time. No one really has power. That's why
Right.
nothing really happens in the United States unless it goes to the Supreme Court, because everyone like they
Right.
all check each other. So I thought it was fascinating that you guys have parliament supremacy, because like your guys' prime minister is in parliament, which is
Yeah.
Congress for us. It's wild.
You see, that's like every time you have to, they only have like an MP. Also, it's probably similar, to that, don't you, where you have an MP or you have a person who represents your area and to represent you. That's what we have
Yeah.
is like an MP, but I don't know. I'm guessing you have the same.
Um. So yeah, like that would be like, so there's the House of Representatives is like representatives for districts. So it'd be like Clark County, which is like Las Vegas, Nevada, would have a representative. Um, and then or have a couple of representatives, and then Senate is 2 Congress people per state, and that would be like from each state, and they have the states, right? And then there would be the president, who's the United States, like head of state,
Yeah.
and head of government, and then there's the
Yeah.
Supreme Court, which is like the law of the land.
Yeah. It's amazing to think like actually if you actually get anything uh, so when you explained it down to me, it feels like amazingly actually can because actually get anything
Done.
done. You know, yeah.
That's the problem. We don't get anything done. They just argue all the time. That's kind of
There's never any middle ground. The one thing that's been politics with me in our country wise is I just get so fed up is like when because obviously like you guys, there's only really mainly 2 major parties really. Like we have some other parties like but it's mainly Conservative and Labour. And it's like it annoys me. Like it's always every time you watch the Commons of them battling it out of like discussing a topic or whatever and like trying to argue whatever. And it's just like it's like no matter what this party thinks, this side will just disagree with it just for the sake of it, because you don't want to be them. But yet, I would trust. This is what gets me annoying. I bet there's actually common middle ground more often than not. But they just will say there's not just because it's no, we don't want to be part of that. So we have all these politicians all the time. Like go, oh, the very this and very that. And it's just like I would respect someone so much more. I would because we just don't believe any gospel lawyer and any politician, and it's probably the same way. Like you just can't trust them as far as you can throw them. But what I'm saying is, I would trust so much more someone who goes, oh, actually, I agree on this. I don't agree on that. I don't know, and because that is life. Some people agree on this, but that, or I disagree on this. But that is a person. Is we are different. You know what I mean? It's just, but it's always duh. No, I'm definitely not. Yeah, everything on that and everything on that. I don't like you. It's just that's what annoys me so much about politics. But,
That's the shitty thing is that's how America started. The America wrote the Constitution because a bunch of men got together and argued about like how and then created the Constitution on what they agreed about, what they disagreed about. And now it's turned into, at least the United States, I'm sure the whole world is turned into, if you disagree with me, you're the enemy. And that's like how things get done, dude. We are built the First Amendment of the Constitution is freedom of speech and expression of religion. We are built on the proposition that everybody's different and you should be able to say what you can, say what you want, against other people. We should learn and grow. And so it's shitty that like we've come to a time in life where, speaking is become like, like speaking is for a certain people. Like, I feel like some people feel like who are like, I said this in class yesterday in my constitutionalism class. I said, I think the people who are actually should be speaking about this stuff and should be debating are scared to, or like they don't want to.
Yeah,
Time
yeah. yeah, or the person who's like an expert in that area. So it's like who should really like say you should the only person we should be listening to. Oh no, I'm not allowed to say this, like I say, because I've been
Yeah.
paid into it, and then it's all that at the end of the day. It's all money behind it and all that lot, and it's just annoying to like say it's you know you didn't get the facts in it. I'm gonna say something, I've forgotten now, but forgotten now. Forgotten now.
But back to sculpting.
Sorry, yeah, we got a tangent, haven't we?
Back to sculpting. What is your favorite? I mean, you don't have to have one, but like if you had one favorite sculpture, what would it be, and what was it?
I think it's hard. It's hard to choose one.
One that sticks out to you.
Well, I'm quite. Sorry, it's quite. The hard question is with this though is because for me, right, it's like you're constantly developing. You can't seem to nail down one thing. I'll give you an answer, but it's hard to nail down like because you keep when I said you keep looking back, or I just keep thinking I'm progressing all the time. You keep moving the goalposts a little bit, constantly pushing yourself, and you keep coming up with new ideas. And that's the best bit as well. Is like I keep converging new styles. The problem is it's not a bad problem to have, but as artists, like there's a lot of artists out there who seem to find their style the one and keep with that for the rest of their life a little bit. Whereas I feel like I'm constantly kind of keep changing a little bit, and I feel like it's good to do that because you keep finding new ideas, pushing the boundaries. And because you probably might see my work wise, there's a bit, even though I'm doing sculpture, I'm still there's a bit of it's still a bit hard to not just kind of pin down and just do one kind of style a little bit. But to give you an example, I'm really quite happy with my shoe flow kind of style. I call it shoe flow. It's basically a horse sculpture, horse head. I've recently done. It's like I have horseshoes where I've chopped them up and then stitched them, kind of welded them back together and kind of created the form of a horse. Yeah, so basically I quite like that style. It's really quite contemporary because I think it's got a nice play in it that you don't realise it's made from horseshoes until like a second glance. It's like, and then you go, oh, it's made of horseshoe, and then it's like, it's quite nice because it allowed me to get that extra depth of detail of sculpting a horse, and has a nice little link to it because it's like a horse made out of horseshoes, and it's like, but done with more detail and it's more contemporary. And I feel like it's more high quality. I feel like I can get to our next step a little bit with it. But then again, I've got this other horse sculpture I'm doing at the moment, which is really, really quite excited, making out of car parts and making like a horse head out of car panels. I'm gonna like bash them up together and in different kind of shapes. So that's looking quite good. But I'm doing a lot of horses. You might see there's a trend with horses wise. There's a lot of, I know there's more affluent kind of areas out with horse sculpture work, and I'm getting quite good at doing horses. So that's why I'm kind of like doing not the bread and butter a little bit, but it's doing that a little bit, just kind of developing your presence and your brand a little bit until I get into more ideas like that one behind me. That's like a wall piece where there's a bit more concept in it. It's called Mother Aura. That one. It's like there's a crack in the middle. It's like a baby in the middle, and it's kind of like I like to get in the future to get more concepts and more ideas and meanings of things to inspire people and go, oh, hang on, what's going on there? Because I used to do a lot of that in my painting work, so it'd be nice to kind of bring that into sculpture work a little bit. But for now, it's kind of like doing bits to kind of tick the bills a little bit. So it's not a bad way to tick the bills in doing horse sculpture work. It's quite fun. Quite a nice animal.
What's the largest sculpture you've ever done?
So I've done a full scale rearing horse. I've just done the second one's nearly done. It just needs welding up completely. That was made out of horseshoes. The first one I did was sold to Cheltenham Racecourse, which is quite a prestigious racecourse in England. And I'm currently been working this other one. As mainly the reason why I did it was because I did the first one. I knew I could improve. I did the first one. I started that when I was 14, so I was like, I gotta give myself some credit. It wasn't the best, at the same time as how old I was, and I was wanting to do a better job to make it more anatomically correct and more in proportion to a normal horse. And I had this other style of like using the sides of the horseshoes, as well as like the faces of them to like create like the muscle strands, and it just adds more detail into a horse sculpture. And it's quite a good. I'm really quite chuffed with it. I just need to. The reason why I started it though was to think, oh well, I'll get this done and sold, and that'll hopefully pay to help promote the business a little bit, like in terms of like I'll go to shows and pay for going to exposure to get into that extra level, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So that's been on the cards, long-term project. is that sculpture. And I'm kind of missing that long-term project. I think I always realize you need to have something long-term just to in the background when you're having an off day on something on the commission, or it's like just nice to shut off and do something else a little bit and just tick away on something. Now it's kind of nearly done. It's like, oh, kind of missing that next big one now. So yeah, that's to get height wise, it's about 15 foot normal rearing. Yeah, it's on my Instagram page. It's a rearing one recently. It's I think there's a picture of me sat on it. I was looking. Thankfully,
I
did hold.
see that. I did see.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so it's weird when you took photos and got it out of the workshop and you're like, oh god, it's actually bigger than I thought it was. Like, you know, it's when you think of it in the workshop, you like just get used to it, don't you? So, but yeah. So that's the biggest one. I got more plans in the future to do some bigger ones, but I kind of want to get some. Actually, if I do a bigger one again, hopefully be a commission instead of just doing it out of my own bat, because then I won't have the trouble of trying to sell it.
Yeah. That's a very large.
Yeah, that's the trouble I'm finding at the moment. Like, I need to get around to selling it somehow. So
yeah,
I found it. I did it somehow. Just anyway. There'll be a way. There's someone who wants it. There's someone out there who wants horses.
Yeah.
Anyone out there? Anyone on this podcast? This is a free shout out.
Hey, no, for real. If you guys want to check them out, give yourself a little shout out real quick on your Instagram and your website.
It's an Ollie Holman sculpture. Pretty easy. Yeah, there you go.
Yes, Northern England, a northerner. If you guys watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah. I sold work to America as well. I've got one in Florida, so I do ship out to Florida.
He also ships out to Florida and anywhere else in America.
Yeah. So I kind of thought like USA as all.
Well, yeah. I think that's a good way to end it, man. Thank you for coming on the show.
No, thanks. Yeah, it's been quite fun. Yeah, it's quite enjoyable tangents.